How's it going, everyone? This is the Anime Man. Welcome back to another long-awaited episode of What the Fuck Japan? Your daily dose of weird, strange, unimaginably stupid, and what the fuck things straight from the heart of Ninja Land. No, not Konoha, like Japan. It's called What the Fuck Japan for a reason. Today on the chopping block, we're gonna get a little bit political. Whoa, hold up. All right, just stay there. Don't get that mouse off that back button. Look, I know you want to immediately click off after hearing that P word, especially if you are a member of the supple younger demographic. I shouldn't use the word supple with those words. But if you are part of that younger demographic, then I suggest you stick around for this one because it might actually affect your possible future. Especially if you're one of the many people who have sent me messages in the past that go something like this. Hey Joey, I really want to be an animator in Japan. How do I make it a reality?
Hey manga boy, I really like manga, just like you. And I really want to be a manga artist in Japan. Can you teach me how I can make that dream a reality?
Hey hentai kid, I like hentai too. I really want to make hentai in Japan. Can you teach me how to make hentai in Japan, Senpi-chan?
I get a lot of kids with the desire of wanting to make anime, make their manga, make hentai sometimes in Japan and live in Japan as a result of that work. And I say, good on you. But unfortunately, I genuinely don't really know how you can make that dream a reality, especially considering it doesn't really affect me in the first place. That is, until now, because today I bring the bearer of some good news. It seems that the Japanese government has heard the desperate cries of all of these weebs wanting to live in Japan and has changed up their policy to make it easier for foreigners like you to get a permanent residency in Japan. Back in 2012, the Japanese government implemented a new system for foreigners coming to Japan called Nihonban Kodo Gaikuku Jinzai Green Card. If you can say that 3 times fast, you can live in Japan. Or roughly translated in English, Japan's high-level foreigner talent green card. And with it introduced a points-based system based on your work and educational background. So here's how it goes, really roughly simplified. In order to get a permanent residency in Japan, aka live in Japan, you had to satisfy this points-based system by getting a certain number of points based on the criteria that it's given you. The cutoff used to be 70 points, where if you lived in Japan for a total of 5 years whilst maintaining these 70 points in this system, you are eligible for getting a green card or permanent residency in Japan. But I guess the Japanese government saw that a lot of foreigners were having a little bit of trouble in satisfying this point system and getting the appropriate amount of points to be eligible. So early this year, they literally decided to lower the bar. Now, instead of waiting 5 years with 70 points, you only have to wait 3 years with 70 points. And if you're one of those high-class motherfuckers who can achieve a total of 80 points, you only have to wait 1 year. TLDR, if you're a smart, hard-working person, then you only have to be in Japan for 1 year in order for you to be able to live in Japan for the rest of your life if you wish. Which, if you think about it, is pretty amazing. Japan is rather infamous for being one of the most difficult countries to get a permanent residency in. But it seems with this, the traditionally xenophobic Japanese culture and government is starting to be a little bit more progressive about this and wants to actually create a multicultural Japan. But if you thought that was amazing, then hold on, because this gets better. Not only are they shortening the period that you need to get a green card, but they're also expanding the potential occupational fields that are eligible for the green card. One of which is known as the Cool Japan Talent Field, which includes everything from the food industry, tourism, fashion, gaming, and of course, anime and manga. Yes! Okay, pause for a minute, because am I the only one who thinks that the name Cool Japan Talent Field it's kind of stupid sounding? I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm no stickler for creative and cool, unique names, you know, being called the Anime Man and whatnot. Worst fucking decision I've ever made in my life. Yeah, we get it that it does involve a lot of quote-unquote cool subcultures in Japan, but try and be a little bit more conspicuous about it, yeah? Anyways, let's get back on topic. So basically, towards all those people who have ever sent me messages in the past of, I want to make manga in Japan and live there. I want to make anime in Japan and live there. I want to maybe make hentai in Japan and live there. You just have to get at least 70 to 80 points and live in Japan between 1 to 3 years, and boom, you have permanent residency in Japan. Your lifelong weeby dreams of living in Ninja Land finally has become a reality. Isn't that the most cool and amazing thing you've ever heard of? Fuck no, it's not. Are you kidding me? When I first saw this news, I was like, wow, Japan is literally giving out an anime visa to foreigners. But then when you dig into it deeper and look at the specifics, this might possibly be the most stupid idea for a visa I have ever fucking seen. Let's begin with this point system that I've been mentioning throughout this video so far, because that's clearly the biggest issue we have here. There was this one screenshot that I saw on this Japanese news article which showed an example of a foreigner who could be eligible for this new system. It's in Japanese, but you get the picture. Here it is. As you can maybe figure out, the example gives a 33-year-old engineer who has racked up enough points to get him a total of 80 points, which means he only has to wait 1 year in order to be eligible for permanent residency in Japan. But let's go through the criteria that this 33-year-old engineer managed to tick off in order to get them those 80 points. Firstly, they got 10 points for being below the age of 34. I mean, that makes sense. Most companies do want younger employees who are probably going to adapt more to the new system and any new technology that arises within the company. And predominantly younger workers work harder, better, faster, stronger, Daft Punk. The next 20 points they get is from making 6 million yen a year, which roughly equates to $55,000 USD per year, which is not exactly a huge amount of money, right? Like, especially if you're an engineer, like the example given, $55,000 annual is not that unrealistic. Next, they get another 20 points for having a master's degree. Again, not that unrealistic or impossible, since a lot of professions, especially today, and especially the engineering field, do require you to have some sort of a master's degree or speciality. Next, they get 5 points for having at least 3 years work experience. Well, again, this person is 33 years old, so having 3 years work experience is not that unrealistic, even if they had to stick around a few more years in university to get that master's degree. Next, they get 15 points for having a special license or patent. I can't say for certain how doable that is on a grand scale of things, since I don't really know anybody who has said special license or patent under their occupation, but if it's in the criteria, then it's probably not impossible. And finally, they get 10 points for graduating from a high-end university with some sort of degree. So that means you can't just graduate from any university with a master's degree. You need to graduate from a university that the system deems as a high-end university. You know, like the university I graduated from. Now that we get some of the criteria as listed, I want you to look closely at this video. Keep looking while I bring this over here and attempt to mix it together. Fucking impossible. Yes, while these criteria may just be a walk in the park for a 33-year-old engineer, when you're trying to get a young, ambitious animator or manga artist or anyone who is trying to get this permanent residency through the Cool Japan initiative and under the anime and manga department, you unfortunately run into a lot of problems. First of all, making $55,000 a year. I'm sure you've all overheard the news and the terror of animators in the Japanese anime industry being criminally underpaid to the point where it is literally illegal. I've done countless videos myself going in depth into that. But let me show you just how ridiculous this underpaid industry is. Last year, the good folks over at Go Boyano released an article listing out the 2015 average salaries of people in the anime industry in all sorts of different positions. The list starts with series directors whose average age is at 42 years and make the most amount of money, clocking in at roughly $60,000 a year. Which, yes, does check the $55,000 a year criteria on the list, but then you have to think about how people become series directors in the first place. Almost all people who start off in the anime industry start off in the lower tier jobs like painters, layout artists, in-betweeners, etc. All of which make a shockingly low amount of money for what they do, with in-betweeners and second key animators making roughly $10,000 a year. Mind you, the legal minimum wage in Japan is $17,500 a year. That means that these kinds of people would literally take 5 to 6 years in order for them to make the $55,000 that the Japanese government expects you to make in 1 year. Are you shitting me, Japan? This is just proof that whoever made the criteria for this point system for permanent residency has no fucking idea of the current state of the anime industry. Now, you might be sitting there wondering, oh, Joey, then it's just a simple matter of becoming a series director, right? Yes, that is true. but then that reasoning is equally retarded and impossible. While series directors do tick off the $55,000 a year criteria, the average age of a series director is 42 years old. Which means while they'll be able to tick off the $55,000 a year criteria, it is very, very, very unlikely for them to tick off the below age of 34 criteria. So that means foreigners who come into the anime industry have two options. You're either too old but you make enough money, or you're young enough but you don't make enough money. Either way, you're fucked. And mind you, with this new points-based green card system, if you do fall under the cool Japan talent field, i.e. if you want to try and get permanent residency under the anime and manga industry, you're not even eligible for a green card if you fall under 70 points. So getting as many of these points as possible is really, really important for you to get that green card. Not to mention how many animators and artists, manga and anime candidates graduate from a higher university with a master's degree or any kind of license and patent that has to do with their occupation. Not to mention a lot of these animators and artists start off as freelancers, so even getting a full 3 years work experience under your belt is really quite difficult. I have a lot of artists and animator friends out there, and let me tell you, I don't know a single person who has satisfied all three of these criteria. And look, there might be the possibility that there are actually more criteria as listed on this example. But I did a bunch of research and I couldn't find any other examples of other criteria. So that leads me to believe that there is either A, no other criteria on this point system, or B, the Japanese government has decided to keep the other criteria hidden from the public eye. Which, if you ask me, is holy shit, so helpful when, you know, if you think about it, my entire career and livelihood is literally on the goddamn line here. I mean, don't get me wrong, I really, really appreciate the Japanese government for at least trying to be more open towards foreigners and this multicultural movement. But if you want foreigners to have an easier time getting this permanent residency that's already hard enough, then you really, really need to look into each industry that you're allowing into the country and build your criteria based upon the different industries you are introducing. Look, I can't say anything about the other occupations that fall under the cool Japan talent field, like the fashion industry, tourism, food, gaming, all that kind of stuff, because I'm not that knowledgeable about that side. So maybe if I look into it, those other occupations do satisfy the criteria a lot easier than the anime and manga industry. But on behalf of the anime and manga industry, which I know a lot more of, I can tell you that this points-based system is a fucking waste of time. And honestly, I think it's really disheartening for so many people that have even messaged me and other people out there who do want to work in Japan doing what they love to do. Even if the anime industry does pay these criminally low salaries to their animators, a lot of these animators still stay and new animators want to go into the industry because it's something that they're passionate about and something that they love to do. And this amazing amount of passion and love for anime and manga is something that should be cherished. But it's just really annoying when the Japanese government writes shit like this in their official statements. クールジャパン戦略とはこうした日本の魅力をより効果的に展開活用し、世界の成長を取り込むことで我が国の経済成長に資することを目的とするものである。Motherfucker, we can't help you if your goddamn standards are more high than Amsterdam. But at the end of the day, I'm honestly not surprised with this story. There have been so many horror stories in the past of traditional media or governmental organizations trying to interact with the anime and manga world in some way or another. Most of which are unfortunately negative, I will admit. But then again, the anime and manga industry is still such a niche even in Japan, so I'm honestly not surprised that the Japanese government has very little understanding of what industry and community they're trying to interact with. But that still doesn't stop me from saying yet again, what the fuck, Japan? Guys, let me know what you think about all this. Do you think that this point system is being unfair to people who want to go into the anime and manga industry, or am I just being really nitpicky and bitchy about it? What do you think are the best solutions to the number of problems that I did lay out in this video? And I want to know, have you ever wanted to work and live in Japan doing animation, manga, any of that kind of stuff? And if you do you think you'll ever utilize this point system that the Japanese government has implemented? I'm really interested to know what you guys think about all this. So I want you guys let me know all that kind of stuff in the comments below. And if you find any more weird, strange, what the fuck things about Japan, the Japanese culture, the Japanese people, anything Japan related, then don't forget to send me your articles and suggestions over on my Twitter. Maybe I should start using a hashtag. So use the hashtag WhatTheFuckJapan so that I can quickly find your articles and suggestions. Anyways guys, thanks for watching. As always, like and favorite if you